All right. We're back with Don't Tell Me, Bro, DVD podcast. I am Chris with my co-host Mazuma here. We have a special guest, man. Our first guest on the podcast. We wanted to do this for a while. ManFaceJay.
Hello.
How are you doing, sir?
Hello. Yeah, I'm doing very well. Good to see you. Well, good to meet you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Welcome. We appreciate you putting off your stream here to chat with us. But yeah, man. So you recently made partner on Twitch.
Yeah, we
man.
did.
Congrats on that, by the way.
Yeah, that was a long road. First time as well, which I'm quite proud of. I'm happy to say.
Yeah, many years ago, I made the things and got denied because they waited 8 weeks to respond, and I kind of let the numbers go down. But that wasn't gaming. That was more of a bringing over my main YouTube crowd for my main channel. But so yeah, let's just jump into it, man. Talk about DVD, man. It's something we all enjoy and love to some degree, but we all have issues with it, I'm sure. But so how did ManFaceJay get into streaming and DVD specifically? We'll just start with
that. So when I first started into DVD, it was a friend of mine that brought me into it from from an older YouTube channel project that I had that didn't really go anywhere, making silly edits. So it wasn't anything to do with gaming or anything like that. But yeah, and then after that, I noticed quite quickly the vast majority of the players being survivors.
Yes.
And the vast majority of content that was out there was survivor-sided. So I figured, like, I've always enjoyed the pressure of being the sole individual reason that the game is moving, you know? So when they brought out the idea of asymmetrical gaming, I mean, I was a big player of Evolve before that sort of sunk. And I always enjoyed the idea of Left 4 Dead when you played the zombies in the versus mode. So we kind of lost that energy there when that game sort of dwindled out and then Evolve sunk. And I realized there was a Dead by Daylight and they brought Leatherface out and stuff like this. And I was like, okay, let's check this out. And then as we sort of got into the content side, I thought, why can we not find videos of killers, you know, as much as you can with survivors? A lot of, you know, I won't say anyone specific, but a lot of it is just being survivor-sided. So I wanted to see if I could bring some weight to that side. And that's what we're currently doing. So that's really good.
Yeah, man. That's so your whole thing was to bring more or killer gameplay, and I gotta say, you know, I told you this before. I think I've mentioned on a couple of your videos that where I came across you was, you know, I like the aspect of being an unapologetic killer. I'm a killer main myself, and I try not to do the camping and tunneling as much as possible, but I do understand. I do believe we'll stay up front. I believe anybody should play how the fuck they want. So yeah, I think I found you. And me and Mazuma had talked about it when you had the issue with Aaron. I'm not sure how he says it. And
Aaron,
I did that video, and I guess you saw. I'm not sure if you did, but because it bothers me so much when you have these survivor mains, which again, play how you want, but you make your content around making killers look stupid, and then when they don't go their way, then you're
I think that was the biggest argument for me at the time when I bumped into Aaron. The thing is, a lot of people don't know. Back in my earlier content creating days on Twitch, when I was like 2-3 viewers of the community size and generally figuring out the game, I was playing, and obviously he had way more experience than me at that point, but I was still able to do some damage. And he flamed the chat like a lot with just toxic stuff over and over. And I knew from there on that he was that kind of person. And I'm not here to sort of slate anyone again. We've been there, we've done that, but this is something that has been since day one, really, in terms of how me and him have interacted. And that one match that night, didn't even notice him. Obviously, the big content creators like to change their names so that they, you know, they can play and complete anonymously, and you don't necessarily try harder or something like that, I guess. So I just did my usual thing, and yeah, some of the reactions out of that video was fantastic. And we created a video to sort of talk about it. And it was 3 o'clock in the morning. I was red eyes, tired when I made that video, so I was a bit more passionate than I normally would be. And then obviously he attempted to copyright strike it, which I had to set up illegal steps to get the video back, man. And then after that, I thought, let's juice out a couple more videos out of this, because it's interesting stuff when someone feels that they could just immediately try and get your YouTube and effectively a career path that you could be chasing deleted before it's even started, which is so that's why we sort of piled that on there, and that's probably how you guys found the video as well, because of the recommended, because there was so much going on.
You know, the drama is always going to sell for sure, and you know, by far milk it, man. I mean, for sure. I don't blame you one bit, but you know, it always bugged the shit out of me how you have several of these streamers that are bigger with, like you said, influence. You got
Yep.
Aaron and Dead Girl Jimmy and some of these other Survivor mains and stuff like that. That their whole content base is about making killers look stupid, how to be toxic, and then they pretend, oh, it's nothing personal. We're not trying to piss anybody off. But I'm sorry. I feel bad for the killer, but no, you keep on doing it. So yeah, I was glad to see that, man. I was glad to see somebody finally call it out, man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm more on the Survivor side. I play killer when forced to because of daily.
Yeah, he does dailies.
I mean,
yeah, a lot of people do that, man. Try to stay away from it.
the way I approach it is, I like to farm in-game currency, and in-game currency is pips and blood points. So whatever I need to do to get blood points and pips, that's kind of the way I look at it. And especially with the reworked emblem system, it's kind of like you can still die as Survivor, have a quote-unquote unskilled match according to the devs, but you do enough, you check off enough boxes, and you pip. And so to me, I can live with that. And, I mean, I'm competitive, but I kind of focus on what I'm trying to do. So I'm mostly Survivor-sided, but I came to realize you go through the evolution of how you interact with the game and what frustrates you and learning the game and getting used to stuff. And, there's karma. I believe in karma. So if you're going to be toxic as a Survivor, you can't then turn around and be like, oh my God, this killer did blah, blah, blah. I just believe in, if you're going to complain about it, don't do it. If you do it, don't complain about it. I just feel like, let's just be straightforward here. That's kind of the guy I am. So, I appreciated that video in a slightly different perspective, which was like, look, I'm a Survivor main. You pointed it out. 4 people are at the shack.
Oh, we were talking about the Aaron video again. Yeah.
What do you want me to do? This is not tunneling.
Yeah. So, I mean, the stupid thing about all of that is, like, I was trying to say about toxicity is viewed, it's a big spectrum in this game, in most games really, but like basically what the idea of toxicity in a video game comes down to what annoys you as a player when you're losing. Like, is it anything, if you're in a bad position, most of the time, I'm talking very broadly here, but like most of the time, anything that happens within the time frame of you losing a game that you've tried very hard at, everything becomes toxic. Like, I could be, as a killer, nodding my head to say, hey, you can get the hatch, but they're already annoyed, so that's considered toxic, and then it's anger all the way around the world. It's so hard to communicate in this game, right?
You're patronizing me. You're giving me
like, don't give me the thing. Don't hit me either.
Yeah, dude, just take the hatch, man.
So, but yeah, no, in that game in particular, it was ridiculous in the sense that he didn't, with Aaron, it was on the hook and he didn't really look up and see anyone standing there or anything like that. I think he did see them, but he didn't consider that to be a factor. It was the rules, the etiquette of, you've hooked someone, now run quickly away so that, we can reset and go again. It's like,
right.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous problem with this game. I keep trying to refer back to other games to see if there's anything similar in any other video games. I can't think of key moments in other video games where we get these moments where we're like, right, no, fair enough, this should turn this way. But I feel like it's that 4v1 world that we're in. Asynchronous. Those opinions are strengthened, right? So it's ×4 of anything said rather than ×1. So yeah, individually. So he knew what was supposed to happen, but it didn't make for a good stream. It didn't. I think he was on a streak as well. I think he was on an escape streak, and obviously I completely ruined it for him. So yeah.
And on top of that, with that particular game, I mean, he's talking to his chat the whole time about tunneling and camping, not specifically you necessarily, but he's not really focused on the game to see what's going on. I mean, it was clear as day.
Well, and plus, he got the pallet tech on you. He was going for the
that was the first time I'd seen that tech, and we're ready for it now.
He's trying to show off. Oh, I know the timing on a Bubba swing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, jump.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
we could not get over that.
Nah, he was definitely focused on that. Yeah. So what I learned from that as well is for you guys, if you're trying to dodge it, it depends on how many tokens he's used. is how long he's actually swinging away for. So.
And add-ons.
Yeah. So yeah.
Right.
And I mean,
Yeah.
I just want one small thing too. It's like he's on a streak, so he's trying to do something. Did he tell you that before the match? Did he come in and say, "Hey, by the way, I'm on a streak. I'm going to be trying for this. Don't ruin it."
It's ridiculous, man. And it's just
know that.
The guy has started from a very early age, and he's done very well for himself. He's very lucky to have this all under him, of course. But I feel that sometimes that leads people down the wrong path. And what's actually happened is obviously the opinions that he's carried and stuff like that is. I think it's old school sort of views when we're talking back. Some of the things you mentioned it was old school Dead by Daylight, and I mean that in the sense that it was a smaller pool of players. And with the idea of 4x1 versus opinion, if you wanted to be in your games and not get berated in the end game chat, because some people are anxious about being in post game chat and being surrounded by people saying, "Hey, you're playing wrong." They inevitably ended up building this world of rules where the killer had to play specifically, so they weren't worried about the post game chat, and because of that, we ended up with this bloody Survivor rulebook. So,
FYI, that sounds a little bit like bullying, but hey,
well, we said that, yeah, we did say,
topic.
yeah,
a whole different topic.
And the survivors, man, when they're at their peak performance, they are dangerous. They can absolutely shut down a game if they wanted to. If you get completely fuzzled within yourself, yeah, I mean, you've only got yourself to rely on, and that's where the power comes from, So,
we'll talk about balance later, but you're 100% right. It's at the highest levels. It's a survivor-friendly game at the highest level.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, that's why we have the perk. We have to run anti-gen perks and all that kind of thing. And go back to kind of Jay's thing is, I think Jay, your stance is, I believe, and tell me if I'm correct here, is you have to camp and tunnel essentially, especially against Swifts, obviously, to win the game. If your win condition is 4Ks.
If you want to kill, like if you feel satisfied more with the kills rather than the actual hooks, there's that whole debate of do you want to be hooking people more or killing people more?
Yeah, kills.
The only reason I'm an advocate for killing them is, maybe 70-80% of the survivors that do get close to that exit gate are going to sit there and make sure that you realize they're escaping for a very long time.
Oh yeah.
And I hate being in that position. It's just an awful feeling when effectively the game goes as quick as you allow it as a killer most of the time. Sometimes you will just get 2 hooks out of a game. So make those hooks last as long as you possibly can, is my view, because effectively what happens is you're just going to have a party at the exit gate. And it's a party that you don't want to be at, Right. So
let me say, as a killer main myself, if I have one of those games, I don't go to the exit gates.
No. We were in a position then of waiting for the entire duration, which it's not as bad, but it's still kind of like, let's get me out of this game. So I try and avoid that.
So you would say your win condition for you, since because you got the kind of like the. And I'll just throw random streamer names out. You got True Talent, who's always been an advocate for hooks, and he's trying to get the game balanced. But your win condition is kills, 4K, 3K.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say. I mean, initially when if we just put an idea of me starting up a match, I wouldn't just go in there and go, right, let's see who I can kill the quickest. It's how, I thoroughly, like everyone else probably as a killer, enjoy the mind games of a chase and completing a good chase and so on and so forth. But if I know that if we've had a really good I've had a game recently where I had a chase with this really good Kate, and she ran me for like 4 gens, and it was crazy how good they were. But they had the perks for chasing. That's how they built their character. They were able to pull out very greedy moves. And luckily, I was running NOED. I had NOED, No Way Out. I had various other stuff, the end game stuff. But if I didn't have those, that would have been a 1-hook game. So I needed to feel some sort of achievement in that game, because letting them all get out would be like, yes, I lost. It wouldn't be like a completely awful, thing, but it's just I need as a killer, what have I done here? Like there are survivors that will run you for 3 or 4 or 5 gens. Like you can get good gamers like that, and obviously that's a problem with the game. Somewhere down the line they got to look at that, but that's quite a small pool of players that could do that. There's so many random variables that can control that factor in the game. It depends. I say this all the time. It depends on what killer you're playing, what map has randomly been selected, what random tiles have been selected, and what the random placements of the gens are. So there's so many variables within the game that sometimes you do have to do that to get your whatever your win. I can't remember what you said it was. Win.
Condition,
whatever that condition is. So, if I play Trickster and I get sent to Larry's, it's going to be a more aggressive game in terms of tunneling and camping than it would be if I got sent to an open map like Cornfield or something like that. But still difficult, but not as much with your open area loops. So a lot of factors involved. It's not just simply go in there, kill someone as soon as possible. It depends on what's in front of me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and you get a sense pretty early on what kind of survivors are going to be. Like this ridiculous game I had on stream the other night. I did a separate video on it because I got
ridiculous streams.
Oh, it was ridiculous. It was insane. I had somebody come in chat afterwards talking about tunneling. And it's like, dude, and I did the whole game. They literally walked to me injured. I won't get into the whole thing. This is about you, but it's ridiculous, man. Because either way, you're going to get called something for some reason. But I guess that goes back to the thing. Do we want to keep pushing the idea of, you should play this way and survive, like, for example, the survivors are the big streamers specifically. They're all about, chasing the killer and making them look dumb. You, on the other hand, you're more about, you got to camp and tunnel. Should we be, almost like the influence thing? Are we doing that, or are we fixing the game?
Yeah, I think the difference there is you do have to tunnel and camp. I feel like against a good team, inevitably, unless you're really good nurse, or even then you're slugging really at that point. But we're talking like let's say Odd Starver and True Talent. True Talent is obviously he's fighting for the hooks. I think he's recently given up on everything to do with that.
Yeah, I think he's playing a lot more Survivor.
Yeah, he's playing a lot more Survivor. He's playing Elden Ring as well. So he sort of dropped off the game a little bit. I watched one of his recent streams, and he had a 4 escape as he was playing Huntress, and he just took his headset off about halfway through the match because decisions that were made were unfortunately the worst ones, but that's just how it is. But you do, even Odd Starver's doing it. Everyone, the problem, not the problem, what should I say? The way that it's not necessarily going as noticed is it feels like as you're the bigger sort of content creator that you are, the more you sort of get not necessarily a pass, but it doesn't become the main focus because you've proved I guess success in some respects. So it's like you become an authority figure after a certain point, in terms of content creating and the DBD side of things. So Odd Starver's obviously got a lot of guide videos and he's got a lot of knowledge, which tells anyone who watches him he knows what he's doing. So surely what he's doing right now is the correct thing to be doing. So it's not necessarily the focus. And True Talent is trying to fight for hooks. And then obviously it all went downhill. He got his fog whisperer removed and all this other stuff for details we don't need to get into. But
it was insane.
And I feel like after that, he kind of lost that authority push, if that makes sense. Like he kind of lost the ground a little bit. I mean, there are fans obviously still of his, but it's still a fight that it would need to change the whole game if we're going to be talking about hooks, because you've all, if you've played Killer, you've experienced it yourself, you don't have enough time to get 12 hooks unless they are very bad. Like we're talking like people going in there looking for totems rather than gens,
right?
Trying to push objectives, get the pallet stuns or whatever these little rift challenges that are going on in the whatever week it is that you're playing. But other than that, you are not pulling out 12 hooks. So yeah, you need a different game really if you're not going to be tunneling camping to get your games done, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, and for me personally, I try not, like I said, I do it strategically, but for me, it's like, I mean, I don't want every game to be a 4-man Swift, obviously, but I do want the challenge of trying to do it more straight up. And then, like I said, depending on, and I do play, I'm a nurse main and play a lot of hunters, so really kind of a co-main there. But with that map pressure, I guess it's a little easier with her maybe. But I do try, but I think so. There's certainly a time and place for it. And again, I'm advocating for anybody playing how they want. I think the argument just kind of goes back to, all right, you got to keep pushing this, right? Where we're going to camp and tunnel and do all the things that is against the quote unquote survivor rule book, but that's going to create more toxic survivors coming into chat and whatever. So it's like this vicious loop. So should we be pushing, like, for example, True and Dowsey got in trouble with the devs for making fun of the whole. I mean, that was ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean,
Twitch shirts away for, criticizing, the skill thing. I mean, it was kind of ridiculous.
It was. I mean, you've obviously guys have seen the devs, right? They said that kills are skills, right? And,
if you run the killer for 5 generators, but ultimately die,
that's no skill.
Was that a skill?
Oh, what a heartbreaking thing that was to listen to.
Oh, I know.
I did a video about it. He basically said, "Wouldn't it be nice if you sometimes get those games?" And it's like, no. You don't sometimes want those games.
Exactly.
Like, we were talking about the emblem system earlier. We were talking about how you get awarded your pips. Mazuma was saying about how you want that achievement of getting those pips. That's good for you. You like your in-game currency and stuff like that. That used to be, and I wouldn't say that it worked, but it used to be the main focus of the game. Like if you didn't achieve anything close to the marker for the pip, you would derank. You would lose your numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. But they've taken that away, and it's like, okay, you can push all the way up, but you will never, ever, ever D-rank again. So I can get to Eerie rank 1, and I could take a face camp in Bubba and just ruin everyone's night if I wanted to, and not receive any repercussion whatsoever because there is no grind.
Well, flip side of that, in positive, interesting ways, as a survivor, when I make Eerie rank 1, I no longer care. I'm like,
yes,
hey,
exactly.
Insidious camping?
It doesn't matter. And I think this is a very unhealthy way.
Blah, blah, blah. Because I think that, I've gotten now the perspective as a survivor to be able to say, it's one game, move on, whatever. And it doesn't have that added, needle in the back of, you D-pip too. It's like, all right, I don't give a fuck, man.
It doesn't matter anymore,
Yeah. So that's the only weirdo, upside of the no D-pipping is that you should at a certain point no longer care about how the killer affects your game. And vice versa, if you're playing 4 iridescent rank 1s and you camp and kill and ruin the day, it's like you should be like, dude, you guys are rank 1, go to the next game.
Right. That's it. We need something else if we're carrying on like this. Tunneling camping is going to become more and more prevalent, and I think that's what they I don't think the player base is necessarily dying. I just think it's becoming more and more aggressive. Unfortunately, more.
Yeah, well, and also, you saw the dead leaks. I don't know if y'all saw that, but you got the dead leaks, DVD leaks on Twitter, who's probably 90%, 99% accurate. But they're going to start offering blood points for people to jump over to killer if you're in a queue. Queue times are too long.
Yeah.
So we're continually losing killers because of this shit, and they wonder what's going on, and I don't understand why I mean, they're catering to new people who come into Survivor. They're making it easier for them, obviously. And fuck everybody who's been playing since 2016. Since
we know that because it's money wise, right? Like I think it's a business thing, right? The more it's easier to sit into the game as a survivor first, and then sell your.
And most people do. I think you go in with your friends or.
It requires less skill to be as a survivor.
100%.
One of 4 people who, if you're in a Swift, you tell the new person, just kind of stay away from the center of the map, do your gens. Don't worry about anything else. We'll cover you. You can't get that as a killer, right?
And I think that's where the game's like that, isn't it? Yeah, it just gets people to stay there, gets people to play the game, buy the cosmetics, and then we're all sort of stuck with this.
Yeah, it's and for that's what I mean, and for them not to take, criticism from people who support their game, these huge, huge streamers who push their game is ridiculous. Just using the Dowsey example, I mean, he makes this video where he does tunnel and camp and kind of makes fun of look at how skilled I am killing these people. Yeah. And they take his Twitch shirts away because he disagreed with Patrick, I guess. I don't know.
It's
petty as fuck, man.
It seems like it does seem petty. Like, I mean, the argument is that, it's their business. They can do what they want sort of thing. But the other side is it's how easy that was to sort of showcase what they have said is it's all well and good chasing them. But if you don't kill them, it's like, well, dude, you can't say that, man, because that's like 60% of my game. And you're saying 60% of my game doesn't matter.
Right. Exactly.
So it was very heartbreaking when I read that, and when I watched that back, and then they said, "Oh, you can run the killer for 7 hours or whatever it was," and I didn't escape. And it's like, yeah, but does it really matter if you didn't escape? He goes, wouldn't it be nice if sometimes you could do all of that and escape? It's like, no, we don't want the sometimes, man. I've said it again. It's such a big point to you have to reiterate it. Like the sometimes argument is ridiculous. And this is why I don't try not to give too many chances anymore. I just want to go in there, and like I said, I like to win. I'm not trying to be vulgar when I say it that way, but I like to win the games as much as I possibly can. And winning for me is getting them dead so that they can't teabag me at the exit gate. That's at the end of it, man.
Well, I tell you what, man, I have that issue. You know, I think it was Spook and Jukes who said this game isn't competitive. I was like, no, for me it is.
Oh, I mean,
for some people it is. So
I view it very competitively. I have goals that I want to accomplish, and I want to get those goals and achieve those, and I want to do what I need to do in the game to get my goals, right? My goals are pips and blood points, because that's how I improve my cosmetics and game experience. Well, maybe not cosmetics, but I improve, well, with whatever. They do a give cosmetic. My point is, it's how I get what I want out of the game by using the game to play the game, to get in-game currency, to make my game experience better. I'm very competitive about that. Yeah, I mean, none of us is sitting here being like, oh, it's just a game, bro. Like,
no,
you know, man, just boop the snood, talk to the killer. Like, no, we're not saying that shit. Snood. We're fucking competitive. And our win conditions, or what we're trying to get out of the game, are different. But we take the game fucking seriously.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I'm trying to pip every goddamn rank reset, an annoying, insidious Bubba in the middle of that costing me a pip when I'm at like Eerie 2 with 4 pips.
Oh yeah. Always. That's always when you get it.
So we're all competitive. We have different things that motivate us, but this game is a competitive game. I mean,
by definition, you know?
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's what I was.
And this kind of ties into what we're all kind of talking about right now. Is like, is the game entertainment? Is the YouTube content and the Twitch streamers, is that entertainment? Or do we approach it kind of like myself and Smoke on the survivor side, yourself on the killer side? Is it competitive? Are we trying to do something? You're trying to kill 4 people and stop the teabagging. I'm trying to rank up to get the 1,000,000 blood point bonus. I like the 1,000,000 blood point bonus. It gives me something to work to. Okay. You know.
So
what is it? I think it's competitive.
It is competitive in its definition. I mean, you're fighting for a win. I'm not going in there just watching everyone do stuff, right? And I feel like when they say that, when the other streamers, like you say about Spook and Cheek, say, "Oh, it's not a competitive game," I think what he's trying to do is, he is pushing the entertainment side of it, but he is competitive with what he's doing, because he's doing this whole thing now. I think he's got a week in front of him now where he's trying to play by the rule book. And I did a video about this recently where he said he asked his community, it was this tunneling. He's trying not to tunnel in his games to appease the rule book. And he did something in the game. I won't talk about too much about it, but he did something in the game, and he asked his community, "Is this tunneling?" Now, it feels to me, if he's asking his community, "Is he or is he not tunneling?" He is competitive in mind. He wants to know if he's achieving his goal and with the game, you know. So he is definitely competitive. It's definitely a competitive game. By definition, it's versus. We're all fighting each other in one format or the other. And I feel like if you are not passionately competitive or playing the game competitively, it's not going to be entertaining. So to be entertaining, you have to be driven in what you're doing. So I can't see how else you could go in there into the game and be entertaining and not necessarily care about what's going on. You have to care, right? Like, there's no way. I don't even think you could act like you're caring about what's going on in the game without the genuineness wouldn't come through. So we've all got to be caring about the outcome at some point during the game, and that's where the competitive drive comes from. We want to be achieving something in it. So it's such a silly argument when people say that it's not a competitive game. It is. It's a versus game. You're fighting one side, and that's the competition, you know. So it's bizarre that people talk about
I think people kind of mix up being a competitive game. I don't know if Spooks in particular, I don't know the guy, but you can say it, you can not take it that seriously, and it's just a video game, bro, and still be competitive. You know, I mean, that's the way I look at it. I'm ultimately playing this to enjoy myself. You know, I play killer throughout the day on my streams, and then at night, me and Mazuma and our other friends, we Swift, and I play it for fun. But there are aspects that obviously bug the shit out of a lot of people. This grind, for example, to rank 1, the reset every month to Ash 20 now, and I'm doing it Survivor and Killer back to rank 1. I mean, it's getting old. So they said they're going to do something about that grind, but they're not going to take away perk levels, for example. That's just a no apparently. So I don't know. Do we use Murky Regents? Can we sell those back? Can we take out the Murky Regents or something?
Going on there, don't we? Yeah.
So hopefully something's coming with that. But yeah,
I want to sell all my keys back.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. What a letdown. Yeah. I mean, I know why they did the key change, but it's so much nicer now not to panic after getting one dead at 1 gen left. But there's so many things in the blood web, and yeah, that's where the biggest grind is, right? That's where the biggest grind is, getting all the ranks of the perks and then getting all those items all the way, and then just stuff that's going to sit there for years and years on however long we play this game for, and it'd be nice to sell it back. I do agree with that. Yeah,
there's got to be something. I don't know what they're planning, honestly, but yeah, this the whole, because I mean, that's what I disagreed with about the whole, rank resets versus the way it used to be when you had actual ranks, and then you reset. If you were, for example, red 1, you got kicked back to 5-2 or something like that, 5 and 2 pips or whatever it was. But there, for some people. And again, the argument there was, well, if you're rank 1 doesn't mean you're good. It just means you played long enough for the whatever. Well, yeah, but in general, overall, if you're red rank 1, whatever, you probably have a good amount of hours. Therefore, you're probably a little better than the average Joe coming in.
Yeah, that would be the idea. Yeah.
Let's be honest. So let's just put it back the way it was and fix this shit.
No, there should be a correlation between hours played in the game.
Yeah.
And how good you are.
And some people want to carry that, some people take it seriously. And want to be, hey, look, I'm a red rank. I'm a rank 1.
It's in a weird spot. It is in a weird spot.
It's like this weird.
You've got all these emblems saying, look, this is how well you chased for. This is how, I'll talk about the killer because that's what I'm know mostly. I play Survivor, but with the killer side, it tells you how quick your chases were, how much you stayed away from the hook and did other things, and it awards you for that. And we had that. And it gave you ranks. It gave you pips. It said, look, you're now red rank 1. Well done. You've done all of these things very well. And then they've said, no, we're going to take that away. It's still going to be there, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
Okay. What do we get?
We're just going to call it something else.
You can, you can level all the way up now. Okay. You'll never D-rank. Okay. You'll get a skill-based matchmaking rating. Awesome. How do we know how well we're doing? We're not going to tell you that.
Why? Secret.
Exactly.
Secret. Yeah.
You don't need to know that.
Secret. So you don't get
mind trick. Get a mind trick. You don't need to know.
It's so weird. I've never played a competitive game that has said, we're never going to tell you how good you're doing.
Yeah.
Why?
Exactly.
I need incentive. Imagine working under that condition. Like, we're never going to tell you ever if you've done a good job. Ever.
Exactly.
Where's your drive, man? There's no drive. But they've got all this system there. They got the emblems that were there. They had this whole idea of this is how you rank up and that. And they said, no, forget about it. They're still sort of there, but, we're going to do a skill-based matchmaking that sometimes works. Right, okay.
That's and I think their thing, though, is to, throw blood points to everything. We'll just give blood points to everybody. Rank up if you want. It doesn't matter, but we'll give you some blood points if you do. And it's not all about blood points all the time, for Christ's sake.
I do.
Under this system, it is, unfortunately. And again,
well,
we're talking about the meta here. Unfortunately, it is under the system because I need to get 104 perks to fucking tier 3 on a P350 Survivor.
And maybe that's why they've done it. Yeah. Maybe that's why they've thrown all these blood points at you, because they know that there's a big grind and they want people to play. I think the reset makes people play again because they want to. If you notice, the biggest games, the hardest games are right at the start of a reset and right at the end of a reset.
Yep. So it's the skill-based matchmaking. I mean, that's a whole nother topic, but I mean, I'll play the sweatiest 4-man whatever I'm assuming. I mean, I don't know. It's a secret, I played nurse long enough to be high MMR, and I can tell by the players they mostly are. But then you'll have a game where you four-man wipe them, and then the next game, or then you lose a game or whatever. Maybe you get 1 kill and 3 hooks because they fucking were optimized, Swift, whatever. And then the next game, it's like 4 brand new players. What am I doing with
sometimes, man?
Yeah,
and the reason why it is because the condition to get your points for skill bases for Survivor is just escape. Doesn't matter how you got there,
right?
Just leave. I know the hatch doesn't count, but just leaving that exit gate is well done. You're an amazing player,
right?
And as a killer, he's just killing them. Doesn't matter how you did it. You could just be tunneling to death, camping them straight away from the beginning. And then what you end up with is, I said this in one of my other videos, is that you end up with, sometimes you will get games of just 4 random players together that have escaped quite often to be up there with you. And they've done it via chases, being very well, using all the time they got at gens. And then sometimes, because again, it's the sometimes thing that they said, wouldn't it be nice if it sometimes worked, is you get 4 players that hid all game. And waited for the
botany knowledge, urban evasion,
yeah. and then you just smash them, and it's like, what the hell was that? You know? Exactly. And that's why it feels like you're going up and down these skill levels all the time. It's not. It's just that collection of random numbers come into your game, and it sort of it's really weird.
Yeah,
well, the problem is, and you mentioned it, we've all talked about, is they clearly have the data because they use it for the emblem system. If you go on Steam and there's a website that you can use, make your profile public, all the data is dumped into a website. And you can go in there, you can see how many Moris you've done, how many hooks, how many pallet saves, how many whatever you want is in there. So the data exists, and I feel, as a guy who has built web platforms, you have the data, you know it's there. You're just being lazy.
I think it will kill a lot of their player base. That's why I think they don't do it.
Well, no. The business reason for why they do it, I think we all know. It's the money and keep the people playing. But to sit there and say we can't do it, it's like you could.
Yeah, just straight line. Yeah.
Don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. That kind of stuff. Just tell me. We don't want to use that data.
And that's the upsetting thing, isn't it? Because we're trying so hard to just be good at what we're doing, but no one's telling us how good we are. And it's just, it's
except for the damn in-game chat. That's our feedback, right? If you win, you're a camper, tunneler, toxic. I don't know. You're relying on perks. It's boring. There's all these words, man. It bugs me so much, man. These words that people throw around and they have no meaning anymore. The word tunneling, for example, or camp, and none of that means shit anymore.
That's what I was saying.
It's literally things that people just say they hear their friends say it, or maybe their favorite streamer, and they just throw that shit out there, man. And it's just like, what are you talking about, dude? It has no meaning. Just it just the other night that was just got. I mean, I actually enjoyed it. I actually broke down the game on stream, but it was one of those things where you were tunneling. And then it was, what was it, Mazuma? It was tunneling. Then it was, you got a sweaty build.
The first thing was, because you dared to run Pain Resonance and Deadman Switch.
Right.
You're running a sweaty build. Oh my God, you're running a sweaty build. Well, we should go back and look. It's like, were you running BT, DS, Unbreakable? Were you running Dead Hard? Were you running any of those perks? Because those are sweaty survivor perks.
You're not allowed to try to win. That's the problem.
No.
You're not allowed.
You can't use no id, but I got Dead Hard and DS, and what do you mean?
I got all these second chance perks.
It's amazing how many perks they have in terms of that.
And I can put down a circle of healing and shadow step to and give everyone a free med kit.
Everybody's free med kits, man.
Free med kits, and if you bring in a med kit, that's it. Do you know what that surprises me on that subject? I'm surprised I don't see more survivors carrying medkits. That's probably the most powerful item that you could take.
It absolutely is. But now everybody gets a free one. So somebody on the team, hey, I got a boon. I'm running, shadow step and circle of healing. I'll throw it down in the middle. So there's your free zone. Free heals for everybody. It's ridiculous, man. So I was going to say, just speaking of that, what do you think of the current idea? I like the concept of boons. What do you think about boons?
I think it needed it because they needed some form of like extra gameplay element. I can understand why they brought it in.
Right.
I don't think it's like it can be one of the most game changing moments, or it can be an absolute waste of time. I don't think it's necessarily changed the game completely. It's given everyone a free heal, but I'm not seeing it becoming a major factor. But that's just in my games because I immediately sort of most of the time ignore them if I'm just getting away with ignoring it. It depends how much it is, but I feel like we definitely needed something like that. I didn't have that idea in my head. I never thought anything like that would ever exist, but I can see why they brought it in. It's that extra gameplay element for survivors to do other than chases and generators and saving people. It's just something else, and it's kind of, I guess it's nice for them as well. I think they're trying to aim towards solo survivor gameplay. I think they've done this from day one really, but put survive with friends at the back of their heads. And they've tried to balance it for solo survivors, which obviously made Survive with Friends stronger. But I think they consider most of their most of their player base survivor side to be like duos or maybe 3 together at max. And I think the competitive higher level gameplay side is probably the more minuscule now, especially with the cross-play and console players and stuff like that coming into the mix. So I could see why they did it, because it's going to encourage solo players to play. You can go to an area and heal up. Cool, and I could see why.
I don't have to worry about someone else.
Yeah,
healing me. I just put down my boon. I know I can go heal.
Yeah. I like the concept of another aspect of the game for survivors besides just M1 and a gen. But circle of healing, man, it really can be a game breaker.
The longer it stays up and the longer the match goes, the more valuable it is.
And and the idea that you can put it up and then I can go stamp it out. Yeah, because that's always the argument, right? Well, it only takes you 3 seconds to stamp it out. Yeah, after you're chasing somebody and find it.
You usually find it in the middle of a chase. That's the problem.
Exactly. And then they can go right back to it, and while you're in the middle of a chase, and it's just right back up.
Or just move it. Or they just move it then. All right, fine.
Yeah, exactly.
We had it at this one generator.
So why can't I relight, a ruin? I don't know.
That's the one thing I'd probably say. I feel like if they do boon and they boon like one of your totems, like one of your hexes, sorry, I feel like if you kick it, you should get your hex back. I feel it should be a reward, risk and reward sort of play. Like you could have done it, but you didn't. Other than that, I feel like it's a good place. It's a good place for it to be. Like I said, yeah, it can be either completely useless, I've found, or it can be the full on what took the game away from you. But yeah, I think the one change I'd probably do is if you've done it over a hex, give me that hex back. Man, you've just took like 3 stacks of my Devour Hope for your boon that took you ages.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that gives them another thing. Okay, oh shit, he put his thing back up. It's another little aspect to maybe counter some of that boon healing, circle of healing thing, idea. So
right, because now there's a downside to blessing a hex versus cleansing a hex.
Right.
And it brings Pentimento back a little bit, because Pentimento, you have to force the issue with a plaything or a rune undying or something. You have to force people to cleanse.
It's kind of hard to put that Pentimento out there, man. It really is.
Very tough. You usually get one, or I've seen 2 once.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you usually get the one, and then someone's like, "Oh, well, fuck this Pentimento."
Yeah, I think that's why, because originally it wasn't the repair speed at the first; it was the healing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's good that they brought it in. I get it for the solo play, but it'd be nice to sort of tweak it a little bit. Well, this just goes back to the whole player base again and why they're trying to keep it more and more attractive for solos and survivors, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, it makes my games harder, and that's what I want. I want hard games. I don't want to go in there and just clean up. You're boring as a killer, right? When you just go in there and swipe the whole team away.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like I said the other night. I had this. We had a game with a bunch of damn cheaters, and then we had this weird game with a bunch of apparently great survivors who escape a lot of rank 1 killers, but I somehow tunneled them. They wiped them out.
They've been drinking on St. Patrick's Day, by the way.
Oh yeah, they forgot to mention that part. Oops. I mean, whatever. But yeah, but I like the challenge for sure. So let me ask you this. So you had like you got the A run style survivors and Dead Girl Jimmies and noobs and all the quote unquote toxic survivors. Do you see yourself as kind of the killer antithesis of that now, where you're really kind of pushing for this? If I want to kill people, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I don't see them as like, I know people see it as, like I said this before, with toxicity. I don't think they're toxic. I think they're just very confident. And we've all done it where we've been super confident in a game and we get more and more ballsy with what we're doing, and we like to taunt and mess about with it. In terms of, do I see myself on the same wavelengths as they are, but the killer side, I'd like to sort of be in a way that they haven't had, not necessarily anything to be scared of. That sounds too dramatic, but like they haven't had any counter to what they do.
Right.
I've seen many games where the killers just fall for everything that they're doing. They start swinging wide and missing everything, and they're getting away with all these pallets and stuff like that. And I want to be there. Like, if I ever catch players that are trying to mimic that kind of stuff, I want to be the one that shuts it down. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to be the one that silences it. And then I've got quite a few videos now where there are mimickers of that sort of play style, and we've just closed it down. And it's amazing the amount of, I think that's where most of your entitlement comes from, is the early days when that foundation of the player base was created and these Survivor rulebook became a meme. That's where all your entitlement comes from. So I'd like to think I'm a sort of advocate to say no. Because we've only got so many tools within the killer kit that can deal with what they can throw at you. And that is, unfortunately, the strongest ones are getting those camped and tunneled, and the rest of it is just you have to be perfect at your chases. And no one's necessarily clean slate perfect at chases. You're always going to get run around. You can't end chases in 3 seconds because you chose to. It's usually because the survivors have made a mistake.
Right, and you capitalize.
So you got to do what you can to get those games in your favor as much as possible. Those is pushing the generators as quick as possible. Ours is getting people dead. As soon as there's 3 people left, the better your game becomes in those sort of games.
I think that again, I'm always an advocate for play how you want to play, but it's just me personally. I try to again
100%. And I just want to interject too, like, full disclosure, nothing in the actual game says you cannot camp or tunnel.
No.
There is absolutely nothing in-game illegal about camping or tunneling. Frowned upon, blah, 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 whatever. This is not illegal. It's amazing that we get caught in these discussions of something that's not even illegal.
I think they tried it.
Right.
They tried it with the emblem system. You could actually, there was a moment when that was the thing that would depip or pip you.
Right.
Was how close you were to that hook. Mm-hmm. That used to be one of the conditions to get you things. So they did try it originally. It used to be a thing, and then, like I said to you, now there's no repercussion. You can't D-rank.
There's a small like, ooh, you get a -3.
Yeah, well, that was it. That was like a broken emblem to say you fucking camped, basically. And now it's just whatever.
Yeah, you can see the evolution. You have fucking Insidious when the game came out, but now you have make your choice or whatever to get you away from that hook. So you can see the kind of the swing over to
it's like there was Monstrous Shrine, right? Getting them in the basement and
faster entity progression. Right?
Yeah.
Oh man, I love a good Monstrous Shrine territorial imperative build. I'm big on that.
What were they thinking when they bought those out? I wonder. Do you know what I mean? So it's such a weird
meme builds we talk about.
I run a Hoarder Monstrous Shrine territorial imperative.
It's bizarre. It really is.
Yeah, that's the ever build.
That's my chest in the basement. You go there, I'm gonna know. You go there, I'm gonna fucking know, bro.
Crazy, right?
I would like to ask, and I think it'd be a fun exercise. So, as a killer main, and as a Twitch partner, tell me your strictest definition of camping, and then your strictest definition of hunting. What in your mind do you consider it? Just so all the survivors that are out there can at some point be like, well, that's his definition. So what do you say?
So what would I consider? Like, I mean, camping is a description of what you do, but like in terms of like a game ruining camping, or sort of like unnecessarily camping, right?
What is camping? Because there's proxy camping, there's area camping, there's
right. It keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Hook proximity chases, whatever.
So the way that I would see a camping being used incorrectly, let's say, I think that's a better way of answering it, is someone who starts a game with the immediate intention of getting one survivor and then that's it, and then getting them dead and then moving on to the next one and that's it. Then you're not playing DBD. You're not playing it at that point. If you're going in there, getting someone, camping them dead, going somewhere else, getting them, camping them dead, you play how you want to play. I agree with that, but at that point, it's pointless. There's no real reason to be. What are you playing the game for? If you're cutting all of the content out and just doing these two things, it's absolutely like you just play a bubba and pick someone, down them. That's it. Next, move on. And that's what I would say is camping in terms of the negative description of it. Is making sure that someone dies individually every single time straight away without any thought or process in the game. And then tunneling is along the same lines, is just finding that one person and then getting them dead as quick as possible and then moving on to the next one, getting them dead as quick as possible. Camping and tunneling that I use is kind of like, it's either if I've had an awful game and I need to bring the pressure back as much as I can, I will do that sort of stuff. But I don't go in there with the intention of targeting someone and then making it the whole process. It depends on how strong they are, what they've done with the time that I've given them, and then how much do I need to bring back the game. So yeah, camping in the most respects, in the way that the survivors use it, is what I would consider, hey, no, it wasn't so much, is that I've gone out and selected someone and just sat there the entire game. I've seen games do that. Don't get me wrong, there are toxic killers who will do that just for a reaction, and we've seen them.
Yeah, they do it for the reaction, and they're going to lose those games. I mean, period.
They're going to de-pip. They're going to lose. They're going to get outscored by the three other members of the survivor team. Yeah,
de-pipping doesn't matter anymore.
No, that's true.
No. Well, you can de-pip technically for what, 5 pips,
you
but you can't drop it.
You go from 4 pips to 0.
And that's where it hurts, right? That's where the problem is. Like, we keep going back to the idea that we're no longer recognition of how well have you played.
Right.
So do what you want, really, is
it's that pressure. It's that pressure to give people participation benefits.
Yes.
Kind of a different real world meta altogether.
I think it will change at some point, but right now I feel like they are obviously trying to invite all the players and stuff like that. But yeah, no, it's hard to argue why you shouldn't tunnel and tump. I was going to say then tunnel and camp and all the other stuff like that to get your wins when there's no repercussions. They're not going to tell you how good you're doing, so they're not going to tell you how bad you're doing. I mean, the worst screen that you can get is entity displeased, right? That hurts the heart every single time you see it.
Yes, it does.
Fine.
Yes, it does.
You mean Nia displeased, right?
Well, right. Nia. So one last thing for me, Jay. I don't know if Nazuma had anything else, but I saw, I've been, I watch all your videos on YouTube. YouTube channel blowing up, by the way.
They're doing really well.
So it's, I'm sure that's helping drive traffic to Twitch as well. But you made a couple videos now. You mentioned we talked about. Let's see. I think I had it right here. So you had one. You got a couple on that CM Winter guy who's a toxic streamer. I've seen him, years ago. I think you mentioned him a couple times.
That's when I first found him. Yeah.
You've talked about Dowsy now, and you had this the little one on Spook and Jukes and all that stuff. So what is your thing with are you just calling out things you see them, or why are you calling out streamers, or not necessarily calling out, but just
no, I mean, it's kind of it's my attempt to get my opinions out there, and I know that they've already created. I mean, they were very early in the days when they started making the videos, not so much Spook and Jukes, but Dowsy for sure.
Right.
And he sort of his base was originally killer sided. He was a very, very good killer back in the day of the original rule sets in terms of the actual gameplay, because loops were a lot more difficult back then with the whole vault speeds and all this other stuff, which is probably a worthy topic at some point for yourselves, is talking about the older DBD. But and I feel like he's got a lot of opinions that don't necessarily go unaddressed, but no one really talks back with him. I've not seen any sort of back and forth. I know he's had a recent series with Otstarver and Aaron where they did the hardcore survivor thing.
Right. Yeah.
And I feel like, some of the opinions that he was carrying was, it felt to me that it was, obviously he had his Twitch shirt removed. We spoke about that. He had a couple of opinions on the skills equals kills sort of thing, and I feel he got very passionate about it, and some of the things were not necessarily incorrect, but a lot more emotionally driven. So I wanted to approach it because he was talking about how the player base was dying and all this other stuff in one of his videos. Not necessarily he was saying it, but they were talking back and forth with I think Oddstava was talking about the Steam charts and all this other stuff, the numbers and with the boons and all these other bits and bobs that were affecting people, and killers are dropping, the queue times are getting harder and stuff. So I thought I need to address it in my opinions. I mean, people are listening to me now, right? So I figured if people are going to listen to me, maybe I could talk about these sort of things and get my opinion across, and it will just create a lot more what's the word, like authenticity, because that's what I am. I'm a very authentic guy. I'm general in my approach, and I don't like to hide about a lot of bullshit. So I try and speak my mind on things, and sometimes I have an opinion as well. And if I can attach it to another well-based content creator and get that feedback going, maybe we can push a change for DBD. I did it with Spook and Jukes because he asked about tunneling, like what do we consider tunneling, and it was just along the lines of where is Spook and Jukes taking his content if he's trying to meme around with the Survivor rulebook, and then now he's getting in a debate of what is actually tunneling. It was a weird turn for me, so I thought let's talk about that as well. But why am I doing it? I think it is just to get my opinion out there. And if you can attach it to someone else who's already got an opinion, that's just how things work, right? That's how you get a discussion going. Not necessarily that people are going to start discussing it, but it's good for entertainment. It's good. It's like why we do these things. It's just good for a bit of back and forth. And sometimes you can change things. Sometimes you can. So maybe if we keep doing this sort of thing, we can actually push the game in a better direction. I doubt it, but businesses are going to do what businesses are going to do. The CM Winter thing is just something that absolutely should be made aware of. I do have a strong opinion on it, but I won't go into too much detail about him. But it's just, again, to shed light to those that are being unheard. Essentially, people that are going in matches against him, going in there to say GG or whatever, and absolutely getting shut down, and no one's saying anything about it.
Yeah, you can't even say GG anymore, for Christ's sake. No, I get it.
There are people who say GG ironically.
Oh yeah, no,
for sure. But I mean, that's just old.
I say good luck, have fun.
That's old manners.
Have fun. Good. Well,
it's along the same lines of like, let's say you're in a big sport event and you took part in it, and then the other team went, "Oh, nice work," and you wouldn't just smack him in the face, would you? I mean, some people probably would, but like, you just be professional in your approach. You're a professional.
Well, but I can tell you, in a game. In competitive games, and I played college athletics, Smoke's very athletic as well. In college team athletics, there were games you ran the table on the other team.
Right.
I never would have said good game in that situation. I would have said, no. I'm saying I wouldn't have used the phrasing good game.
Yeah.
They know they lost 45-0. I would have said, like, it was good playing you guys. Or something.
Yeah, but I mean, that's along the same lines. I mean, I'm
trying to tell you, like, I can't remember the exact words, but in my consciousness, even then, it's if you win 45-0 in in American football, it's not a good game. Right? And they don't need to be told that. You shake their hands. You can say, like, if you, like, sometimes you actually know the other people on the other team, just through competition or whatever, you've seen them before or something. And I've said to, like, other guys I knew from camps or whatever in these athletic things, I've said, like I've said it when we got beaten up, I'm glad we don't have to play again this season. Or they'll say, hey, your next game's going to be a lot better, man. Like because it means that they understand that they just won.
Yeah, okay. Maybe if we don't go specific.
There's just kind of this knee-jerk, good game. It's like, dude, it wasn't a good game. Like,
I mean, we're approaching it with good game only. I'm just saying that as an example. You could go in there.
No. I know. I mean,
and I'd be like, a tough match or whatever, and you're immediately berated. But it's the idea.
You're going to get people complaining no matter what. I get
that.
Exactly.
And this is circling back to the CM Winter thing. Like, this is a guy that does what he does like that often and has been for years. Suspended on Twitch numerous times, and I think he's on his last legs with it. And he's going to follow him from the infamy of being the way that he is, and that's why I made the videos about him, because there aren't any. in the level that I'm doing it, and it's just it's good to shed light on these kind of people, because it's that same mentality of, how do you know if it's wrong if no one's telling you it's wrong, or how do you know if it's right if no one's telling you it's right, and all the other things that go along with that. And yeah, so that's why I do what I do. That's why I've made videos with Dowsey. That's why I've made videos with Spooker Jukes. I'm looking at Ots and True Next, and it's just because people are listening to me in how I play. And that's not a flex by no means. It's just that people are listening to what I'm doing, and they're following away with what I'm doing. So if I can share an opinions on someone else who's playing the game and has a following, it sort of just gives contrast to everything, like that's why we sort of discuss everything with all these other streamers, and I think it's a good approach, and it's good to have that variety out there. And there's not a lot of it at the moment.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good thing overall. I mean, just like I did the video when I came across your stuff, and us having this podcast right now, I think the more we talk about these things and can mention other people, not necessarily in a negative light, but just calling out the topics and issues, and maybe using their platform or whatever, getting it out there to some of those people. I think overall we just having a better conversation around the game, and it leads to a better game, hopefully. So that's the intention anyway, for at least on my end.
That's it. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why when you guys made when you made the videos on mine, it was nice to see it, that especially that Blight game that we had up recently, which was, when you look back at it, is the poor worded choice of mine is definitely, I had the opportunity to get two of them dead after a fucking rough match, to be fair, I played very incorrectly in most respects, but I pulled a 2K back out of it just by sheer arrogance of holding on to those hooks. But it's nice to talk about these things, because feedback works, right? Feedback is essentially one of the key elements of improvement and becoming a better person or player in this respects. Because if no one's telling you, like I said, if you don't know how well you're doing, and this is an argument for behavior, we need to know how well we're doing. Show us our fucking skill-based matchmaking points, man.
Right. I think there's some kind of I think there's a cheat you can buy to see it or something. I saw it somewhere, but I've
had a hacker tell me mine. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I just use the wall hack cheat. I don't care about that. I paid some Russian dude or Chinese dude. I don't know. Whatever. Infinite.
I'll tell you what, man. I think the biggest thing, just right now, is just the more of these subtle cheaters. Speaking of cheating, man, there's just so much. I'm so paranoid now, dude. Every game is like, man,
I agree.
Are they a little bit faster around that corner? It's huge.
I had a game where I was playing. I think it was Huntress on Ormond, and I'd never seen this combo before, but it was a team of friends. One of them was using Blood Pact. If you're not aware, Blood Pact makes you fight faster if you've healed that person, and they were running me for ages, and I was like, fuck, man, I can't catch them around this rock. I was like, I swear I should have hit them by now. I was like, they must have been cheating. It must have been. And all the way through the game, I was like, fucking look how fast they are. Like how fast. Turns out they had those perks. I was like, oh shit. And then the other one now, you've got the boon.
Yeah, the new it gives them the exact hack.
Yeah, no, it gives you in the boon area.
I think it's 2 or 3% or whatever, and that's all you need.
And then the boon that lets you get up as well. There's loads of little things. Yeah, it's rough, and the cheats are so easy to come by from what I've seen.
I finally went and researched those, man.
I haven't done that yet, but
and a website, and I don't know, man. It's crazy.
It must be cheap as well, right? They've got to be cheap to make the money that they get on them. They get banned immediately, and then they just make a new account and go again. Yeah.
I mean, aside from not being a cheater, I've invested a lot in my Steam account, and I've had a Steam account for 17 years, maybe 18 years. I'm not taking a VAC ban and losing my Steam account.
Right.
I mean, aside from not being a cheater, like I've invested a lot of money and time. Stuff and achievements and playing games. Yeah, no, I'm not getting into it. Fuck that, dude.
Right.
One thing though, I think just one thing that bears mentioning is, and I guess we all fall victim to it, but it's like the medium itself has no ability there's no ability to gauge intent or to see a person's face. So in the example I mentioned, after a sporting event, you lined up, you shook hands. I looked the guy in the eye and I said, shit, tough game for you. And he knew what I meant. He looked me in the eye. I was shaking his hand. I was being very cordial. We're shaking hands and we're touching. And I say, that was a fucking tough game for you guys. And you can see that and you can get intent. You can't get intent.
Right.
So a lot of times when some guy says, GG after a 4K. I'm like, nah, wasn't a GG.
Yeah, fuck up.
Not a GG. And I'm
well,
just
that's
being
the whole
honest.
online world now, dude.
Honest
That's
too. I'm just being honest too. It's
yeah,
like,
that's
no.
this whole generation, this whole new online world, man. I was telling Jay earlier. He was talking about, you got a little one, I guess, and my daughter's 20 years old now, almost to be 21 in a few months. And it's like, dude, man, they grew up, man. They in this digital world is completely. I had to explain to her what a record was, a CD, those things. It was crazy. So this whole generation is of entitlement and online, and there's no intent behind. There's no real conversation.
And we're talking about
there's no nuance. There's no nuance.
Talking about this in work. We're talking about like in school now, bullying's a lot different.
Yeah.
Like you can make a mistake. Like when you were kids and one of the scenarios I was talking about is getting in a swimming pool with my boxers on or shorts or whatever, and that was contained within that moment. It was funny, but that's an immediate picture or a state online, and then that's shared with groups, and then there's so much more pressure now.
All of a sudden you're a meme, yeah.
So it's and that's why it's in terms of the Dead by Daylight and the post game chat that's why it carries so much more weight when you say about GG and no emotions. There's no emotions in the words, so the guy could genuinely, good game, well played. It was a tough game or whatever, but you don't get the time to write that out unless you're really dedicated to the chat.
And I don't get to see him. I don't get to see him just like looking like, man. Good luck on the next one, man.
A lot of fights can happen out of that, unfortunately. When they weren't really intended. And I've been it before when people are coming to the chat and I've like almost bit their head off when they've said something, not necessarily a toxic way, but it's the way that they've written it. I was like, I didn't realize you were not saying it.
No, you meant it that way.
Right.
That's just the difficulty with the medium that we as older folks, like, I had to call a girl on the phone if I liked her. I had to call her.
Right.
I didn't answer the phone, and then be like, "Hey, so what's that math homework?" Nowadays you just send a text like, "Hey, I like you."
It's a whole different world, man.
So we understand that there's missing intent, and even we fall victim to it. But kids these days,
and that's why you're getting all these entitlements, within the video game. This is why you're getting all these
exactly
aggressive responses and everything you're doing. And that's again with the whole Aaron thing. He was a young lad. He still is a young lad. I think he's 21. I think he is. And obviously he's built. I mean, can you imagine being his age and building up the career that he's got himself in front of him now with this whole thing? So you haven't got the humbleness in front of you. He's not, and that my opinion is he hasn't.
Life experience and mileage.
Exactly, and so he's got. It's like you walk out the door. Imagine being his age, walking out the door with just a fandom like that, 3,000 plus people watching you live, and then the whole career going on. You got loads of people telling you you're doing perfect. Pat your back. Yeah. You're an amazing guy. So you can't be incorrect.
Is a dangerous thing. Success at a young age can be a very dangerous thing.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine, man, that young.
And that's why I probably went immediately for the copyright strike on my video, because it was an absolute shutdown on the ideals that he was carrying and how
he's not used to being told no, essentially.
No, don't even get me on that generational.
Well, that goes beyond DVD. We'll save that for another time. Well, I'll just one more thing. I know you got to get out of here, man. You got to go stream, but I was just on like the Sim Winter thing, not him particularly, but me and Mazuma was talking about this before about some of these streamers that are actually toxic, as opposed, I would assume, I think we would assume that Twitch eventually would probably take care of that, but I don't see how they have any audience at all. Like the CM Winter guy, who watches him? Why is the market not taking care of that itself? You know what I mean?
It's because we like to see people flip.
Yeah, that's true.
We like that's why salty content does as well as it does.
Anger is funny.
It is funny. And I think because he's mostly angry in everything he does. Why do bullies have friends, right? It's because some of it is out of fear. That's probably a wrong terminology. In terms of the online side of it, you've got so many YouTubers that are absolute pricks, right? And they make a living off of being a prick. pranking or whatever it may be. So that's how he's doing it. He's just, I don't want to say that, but he's being like that and he's streaming like that. And because it can randomly happen, it's worth watching. It's watching someone explode, isn't it, really, at the end of the day? And that's why they gather. I don't think it'll go too far, but it definitely needed addressing. And that's why I'm trying to do what I do with him. He deletes all of his videos, which I can understand why he does it. And try and catch it where I can.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if some of those people aren't playing a character. I just wonder how anybody even watches them anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. It could be an absolutely intelligent guy and just created a persona of. He carries it perfectly. If that is an act, like, fair play to him. I mean, absolutely a genius.
Yeah, but playing it a little too good there.
Yeah, but I mean, he could be. You don't know. That's the thing. You have no idea. You know, like he was saying the other day on one of his streams where he was like, "Yeah, that's it. Come in my chat." Blah blah blah. He goes, "That's it. Get my." He goes, "Don't you realize Twitch love this? You're giving me the algorithm." Blah 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 blah. So, you know, he could be absolutely screwed up on the idea of it, and it's probably one of the quickest paths you could take, you know. So
yeah, it's just it's very odd. It was odd, like how, you know, why there are even people in there that, at least they're, you know, and they're not saying anything to my now. I don't watch them full streams, to be fair, but you'd figure somebody be. I'm assuming anybody that says anything's banned immediately. So
it's just like going back to watching people that are angry. They like watching.
Yeah. I guess we do like to see carnage in some way, in some fashion. So online meltdowns close you can get, I guess, on Twitch. But anyway, man, that's all I had. Zuma, anything else? We got to let Jay go. He's got to go start his stream. We're holding him back, man.
No, I think we covered a lot of good stuff. You know,
I think it was a good shot. I think it was a good shot.
Nice to hear a perspective and get an official definition of camping and tunneling. When someone's like, "Oh, you're you know," they
the argument is you are tunneling, you are camping, but it's a tool. It's not it's not
illegal. Full disclosure.
Well, that's it. You know, like I think the guys that do go in there and pick them up and put them there and stay there are the problem. Sure, I don't think anyone should be playing the game.
But there's such a small percentage of the community, to be honest. I mean, people who go in with the intention, and this is maybe something a little bit ties into that. If your intent is literally to ruin someone else's day,
for sure,
you're not playing the game for the right reason.
No, you're not playing the game at all. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
If your intent is to go out there and win, and this is how I'm gonna win, and if you want to teabag, then I'm gonna slug. If you want to clicky, then I'm gonna hook.
And that's what I do. So, like, one of the things is one of the major plays that I'll always do is if I've just chased someone 40 seconds, whatever, long chase, I get them on a hook and I turn around and within 2-3 seconds they're unhooked. My condition on that would be to go straight back and get them back on a hook again. Yes, it's tunneling, but there's 60 seconds in your first phase.
Right.
You don't need
the quick unhook. Yeah, it's you got time.
Yeah, I think put a little respect back on the killer is what you're saying, Jay, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've done all that and I've just hooked someone for 3 seconds worth of pressure. It kind of feels underwhelming. So I'm gonna make it worse in the idea that they're gonna go either back on it or I'm gonna take the DS off them. Something. I need something for that.
Right.
It would be a good exchange.
I know you talk about this. It's an inefficient use of survivor time, which is so let him stay there for 15 seconds, get that extra 15 seconds on a gen.
Right.
When the killer has just hooked someone, maybe has barbecue, maybe doesn't, maybe has the new
all the second chance perks, man.
I got to go do something as killer. I got to find the next target. Give him the 15 seconds to do that. Spend the 15 seconds on a main objective or a secondary objective, and then go on hook. There's no survivor efficiency to getting someone off a hook in a second.
It's a completely dumb move.
It is efficient if you leave them.
Tournament play, they let them go to almost second state every time for efficiency of generator use. So
survivors kill survivors, man. We all
know they do.
Survivors are more toxic than killers, and I say that 95% of my hours are survivor hours. Yeah.
But they got so many perks to back it up, man. If they save, they got BT. If they go down, they got DS. If they go down,
they get Unbreakable Soul.
And you definitely wouldn't see.
That's a fun one.
I had a dead hard rant on a previous podcast, but you definitely wouldn't see as much of the teabagging and flashlight clicking without dead hard. You know they got dead hard because it's a third. People call it a second chance perk. It's a third chance perk. You've already been chased twice. You can now get chased essentially a third time.
Yeah.
Is it a we won't go into that whole thing, but we were arguing about it before on the podcast. Is it a immunity perk or is it a distance perk? But why is it both? So.
Yeah.
And I use it. Don't get me wrong. I use it.
I use it.
Survivor.
Yeah, it's a great book.
It is. But, you can't come and say, oh, you're a shitty killer because you run no ed.
Nah,
talking about?
The players are arguing.
You're a shitty survivor who runs,
right.
That's the difference, man. We use it, but we know we're using it, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. But all right, man. Well, anything else, Jay? Where can we find you? We know we can find you. I'll put all your links and everything in the description. Anything else you got going on? Want to let everybody know? You got... but by the way, I wanted to ask you, really, you got the Sneak thing. So you got a partnership already, I guess, before you're a partner.
Yeah.
So is that like an energy drink, UK?
Yeah. So Sneak is an energy drink. It's no sugar in it, which is the biggest advocate for me. Other than that, it's just water-based powder with all the supplements in it for your brain, right? And that's pretty much all it is. I used to drink a lot of coffee. I needed something else to make sure that, I work 40 hours a week in retail. I manage a shop. So I needed something to be able to kick my ass when I come home to make sure I'm wide awake again and do what I do. So that was the one thing that we landed on. And luckily we got partnered with them as well. And they were a UK-based energy drink that's currently going through US as well. And it's in, I think it's covered up with Canada as well, which is crazy.
Can you put it on a doner kebab?
You can if you want. You can absolutely. You can put anything on a doner kebab. No, you can eat it. That's true, question. Yeah. But yeah, in terms of what I've got coming up, I think I'm going to continue to grind and approach these other content creators. Santoro, I don't know if you know about Matthew Santoro, but he's been like a big supporter of the stream. He comes in and rates every now and again, and he was at one.
There's a guy. Yeah, 180.
Yeah, he was the definition at one point of full entitlement, right?
Absolutely.
And I believe from what it sounds like is he felt that that's how he should approach it because of players like Aaron and stuff like that. That was the entertainment value, was being this aggressive, toxic streamer, and he obviously got called out for it and humbled very quickly. And I think he's still a passionate guy. But he's a lot more approachable now, where he never used to be. So it's really nice to see something like that change.
Yeah, credit to him for taking the feedback.
For sure.
Most people will not.
Well, that's it.
Look, he's got to be himself, but he can do it without shitting on people.
Yeah, exactly. And he was very, very quick, humble, and he's definitely sorted it out. He was a very successful YouTuber at one point, wasn't he? And he retired from that, and then he moved on to Twitch streaming DVD and content, so that's really cool. But in terms of what I was going to say is what I'm currently focusing on now is approaching these other streamers and sort of talking about them in review respects, like you did with the video with me, is just a feedback that they are not getting given because of the size of them. I guess people see them in terms of like untouchable, unapproachable, and I want to break that taboo. So that's why I've approached the Dowsey video. That's why I did it with Spook and Jukes, not necessarily ripping into them in any way, but talking about what they're saying. I'm looking at True next, because True, I don't know if you've watched his journey, but he is absolutely flipped in what he's been doing. He was very passionate about the game at one point, and now he's almost a chore for him to play it. And he's very, very, very negative and down about the whole scenario. So I've got a few videos lined up for that. And then Artstarver, obviously his career is massive on it. But I need to do a bit of research into him and just see why and what his journey was, and maybe talk about that at some point. But that's what's going to be coming up from me anyway, is just approaching these other streamers that are successful and finding out why, sort of thing. And you all know that, I like to think anyway, if you do want to win the games in terms of killing, then that's what you need to do, is turn on the camping. But why are the other guys so shy and avoiding it? Maybe necessarily that's just how they want to play. So it's just stuff like that I'll be looking at, really.
All right. Very cool, man. Well, I will link everything down in the description, obviously, to reach you. And congrats, man, on the partner thing again, and all your success. Much. Your YouTube channel is blowing up, and obviously Twitch and all that good stuff. So, man, appreciate you taking some time out, man, to come on.
Thank you very much.
That was really cool.
It was nice.
Really cool.
It was good conversations. I enjoyed it. Thank you.